It's a horrible day outside, but it's going to get a little bit better because we're going to talk about books. One book specifically, actually, and that is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. This is a book that got a ton of buzz last year, but I'm just getting around to reading it now. Haha. It is a post-apocalyptic book, more or less, that opens with one of our main characters, Arthur Leander, dying on stage. He's currently performing as King Lear in a production of King Lear in Toronto and collapses due to a heart attack. And this kicks off the novel and introduces a number of different characters who all end up being intertwined and who we hear from in both the past, present, and future of the novel. The present time sees Arthur's death and also introduces Kirsten, who is a little girl in the play, and Jeevan, who is a paramedic who runs on stage to try and save Arthur. This death is occurring at the same time that the Georgian flu is being transferred from Georgia, the Georgia region near Russia, on a plane to Toronto. And this is a flu that has a very short incubation period. You are sick within hours and usually dead within about 48 hours. This moment of Arthur dying is really the last moment of peace for a lot of people, even if it isn't so great for Arthur. And once he is dead, the book really kicks off in terms of learning about Arthur's past and also finding out how these people are coping, coming to the realization that the world will never be the same, and then also how they are doing 20 years in the future. Kirsten, who is a little girl on stage when Arthur dies, is one of the individuals existing 20 years in the future. She is with a traveling symphony. They travel around and perform Shakespeare and perform concerts for people in different communities. So what's interesting about this book is, yes, you see a little bit of the initial outbreak of the flu, but you also get to jump 20 years in the future and see how society has developed and how they are maintaining some sanity and trying to keep on living when the world has been completely changed. You've lost electricity, you've lost transportation, petrol is no longer a thing that is available to anyone anymore, so it just completely changes how people live, and it's really nice to be able to see that. This book is about the characters. You learn so much about them and you do become attached to them. And that's why we do have to jump back a bit and focus on the past, learn about Arthur and the people in his life, and learn how they're all interconnected, so that once you get farther along in the story, you can understand the significance of certain events. What I found with the beginning of the book is that it wasn't nearly as interesting as the rest of it. The first couple chapters are kind of boring, and it is a little bit of a hump to get over, but it's certainly not a hard hump to get over. And then things start getting a little bit more tense and interesting with the flu slowly creeping in, and then also 20 years in the future. It's so fascinating to find out what people have done and how they've learned to survive. I definitely didn't like the first fourth of the book or so compared to the rest of it, but it was still a very good read, and it's very well written. The jumping between perspectives of characters is never confusing, and although you may not love reading from one character's perspective, there are often characters that appear that you do like, or it is quickly replaced by another point of view that you much prefer. This book is hauntingly beautiful, so to say. There are some moments that are really, really lovely to read, but interspersed with these intense moments of survival. I decided to give the book 4.5 out of 5 stars. That first fourth just kind of took away and was never quite saved by the rest of the book, but I know plenty of people who have given this a 5 out of 5 stars. I really like the fact that it took place in the Great Lakes region, so Michigan, Southern Ontario, Toronto, with other places being interspersed, but the traveling symphony, post-apocalyptic portion of the novel all took place in that area, and that's an area that I know well, so that was nice to read about. I also really enjoyed discovering all the little connections between the different characters. Mandel does a really great job of weaving objects and certain things that you see at the beginning of the book, don't realize their significance, and then all of a sudden towards the end they're actually an object that has a lot of meaning behind it, so that was really nice, and I'm sure there were some connections that I missed too, so somebody needs to make a list of all the little connections and how everybody is interconnected, because I would definitely read that. If you guys have read Station 11, please let me know what you thought. Share maybe a favorite part of without being too spoilery. There are many, many great little bits of this book. As always, all of our links are in the doobly-doo. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you later.